Okay, let's look at this error that we were getting earlier. When we created JNet the first time, we would get this problem here, which is not very helpful. Now, the reason why I'm showing you is because the error went away the moment I finished the previous video, right? But still, we need to address this because most likely you will run into this issue, especially when dealing with Firestore. And it is important that we address this. So this video is going to be about possibilities of debugging and making sure that on your own, you're at home and you're building this out, you have ways to test things to make sure that you get the right result, especially when things aren't working. And that is very important, especially when it comes to building apps or being a software developer, okay? Trying to figure out how to troubleshoot things and look for help and go from there. All right, so this is what we were getting. No such method error. Invalidating member of a null UID. So essentially we're saying that at some point in our main screen, this UID from our auth user wasn't being seen or wasn't being shown in a way. Author user ID, which we use to compare from user ID from our M user object, it just doesn't, it's not being read, it doesn't exist, so therefore it's a null, which is problematic because that's what would get us into this mess. Now, I did some research. Usually what you want to do is you want to copy this error, so at least the top one, and put it in Google. When you do that, you will most likely see something like this. And it looks like it's something that a lot of people have been having issues with. This is really detective work. So what I would like to do usually is look at the answer that most likely is going to show me what is the problem. So right here, if you read through, which I have done, it doesn't really give me much. Okay, but it's important to read through, make sure this is for Flutter Web. That's the issue. Okay, and as I went through, I realized that somebody linked something else. I'm going to go ahead and click here. See where that takes us. All right, looks like the same issue a lot of people are having. Then they start talking, and you can look at the date. Now we're in 2021, so this is Jan 26. So it's getting closer to the correct year, which is 2021 right now. So it says here you can also use 8.0.1 as mentioned here and subscribe to the issue. Then you'll get hopefully notified once it's fixed. So it is a problem that a lot of people are having. And if you scroll down, you can see that some people suggest that we change again the Firebase.js SDK to 8.1.1. So my suggestion is that always go ahead and do as they say here. Give it a try and see if it works. Okay, if it doesn't work, continue reading. Now this seems to work because a lot of people have actually said yes, this is the solution, right? Because this number here tells us so. Okay, so we could try that. We go back to our code, look that now things are working fine. Right? But if you're still having that issue, this is a good place to try. So I'm going to Command P, go to index HTML, and I'm at 8.4.1. It's working. Things are working right now. So what I would do is I would change that to what they say here. So 8.1.1. Do that, save, and then stop altogether and rerun the whole app and see if that works. If you still have issues, try the next one, 7.22.1, and continue doing so. Now, here's what I found by reading this. There's more information. There's this part that says, for more info, check out this GitHub link. So if I right click, open a new tab, this actually takes us to the issues page on GitHub for the Flutter Fire, which is all of these Firebase-based plugins. So this is the most important place to be because it will give us a full-fledged idea on how this is being handled and how possible solutions can come about, which means this is where the people who are working on this Flutter Fire, in this case, this Firestore, Cloud Firestore web plugin, this is where they hang out. This is where they actually come to answer questions. Even though it says close here, but it's always important to go through. As you see, there's 62 comments there. So there's always gems that you can go and read and see the solution. For instance, you can see this one has 27 likes, which means okays, which means something that you could do. Right? Just try all of this, whatever people suggest here on yourself and see. So you can continue reading. For instance, there's an example that says this is not working. So if you are doing this, for this person doesn't work, but this is what worked. So give a try. Now, if it all fails, you're still getting the same problems. Most cases, they say you just go back to 7.20.0. That seems to always work for some reason when it comes to Firebase Web. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm giving all the tools you will need to make sure that if you run into these issues, which you probably will run into these issues, at least you have a way to troubleshoot and find it. Remember, this software is still, even though it's quote-unquote production, but it's still evolving, especially Firestore or Cloud Firestore SDK. It's still evolving, so it will always have some issues, all right? So that is one thing to always keep in mind. Unfortunately, I can't tell you that this way will always work, that way will always work. That's why I'm giving you these tools so that on your own, you are able to troubleshoot these things when they come up. All right? So now, like I said, the other thing you can do, if you go back to our index.html, there is this link here that comes already with when we create this index.html, actually when this project is created. It says here, add SDKs for Firebase products that you want to use. And this is the link to available libraries and setups. So if I say command click and say open, that will open this page here. What we want to look at is the available Firebase SDK from CDN. So click there, and here it will give you exactly the versions that they would recommend for this SDK. And I remember that before I showed you the Flutterfire documentation, where for setting up, it was giving us something different. But this is another place for you to come up and see exactly what is also being recommended directly from the Firebase documentation. Okay, again, these are tools that I'm giving to you so you have them when things don't go right. Okay, say Cloud Firestore. This is what you would want to add to your index.html. For authentication, notice it's also 8.6.1 as of recording of this video. At this point, as I showed you, this is working for me, 8.4.1, but let's see, look at this. All of a sudden, I'm having this issue. I hadn't done anything, as you saw me. I was just going back and forth, and all of a sudden, this is not working. That is the problem I'm telling you. This is nothing of your fault. It's not our code. It's just the SDK's versions are giving us problems. Speaking of the devil, in this case, I'm just going to actually do this. I'm going to, instead of 8.4 that I have, I'm going to use the 8.6.1 and see if that's going to help me solve this problem altogether. So I'm just going to just select this one, Command D, just paste what I have, 8.6.1.6.1 like this. Save. I'm going to stop altogether. And you can also see that I've tried a few things. That's all of these are commented out there as well. Okay, so unfortunately, this is what you need to do to get things to work at sometimes, especially with Firestore. All right, let's test this out again. I'm going to rerun this. Okay, let's test it out again, and I'm going to try to log Gina in. All right, seems to work right now. Okay, that is one thing I wanted to show you, or at least let you know, because it's very important. Please rewatch this video. Use this video as a guideline when you run into these issues, okay? And you will, unfortunately. That's just part of programming. All right, I'll see you in the next video.